We have a special guest this morning. We have Eric Trump, a man that needs no introduction. Good morning, Eric Trump. How are you this morning?
Hey, John. How are you?
Boy, you guys had an exciting week last week, and the Democrats just finished off their convention. What the heck is going on? Give me your inner feelings.
Oh, well, listen, it's been amazing. We had a phenomenal week in Cleveland, and it couldn't have been better. And as you know, I spoke, Don spoke, Ivanka spoke. My father did an amazing job and really hit it out of the park, and so did Governor Pence. And we had an amazing week, and we got a lot of praise for it, to tell you the truth. And it was great, and it was uplifting, and it was patriotic, and it was a good couple days.
What do you think? If you could pin it down, that it's going to come down to three major issues. What do you think the American people are concerned about that they're really they're going to focus on?
Yeah. Well, listen, a couple things, and in fact, a couple days ago, obviously, Hillary, had her big speech at the DNC, and I think the three issues are really all things that she didn't talk about at all. I mean, first of all, she never used the word radical Islam, and that's scary. I mean, that's scary when you're speaking to the whole world, and you could be one of two people that could be the next commander-in-chief of the U.S., and, you don't mention one of our greatest threats. And you see what, ISIS has done around the world. You see what they did, in Nice. You saw a couple days ago a priest in France was beheaded in his own church up at the altar. Literally gone in and executed. You saw what happened in Orlando, where, the LGBT community was devastated by a mass shooter. The list goes on and on, everything from Paris to San Bernardino to, literally you can go on and on for hours. And the fact that, ISIS was never mentioned by her is truly, truly disturbing. Jobs is another one. I mean, jobs is a massive one. Since 2000, we've lost, one-third of our manufacturing in this country. One-third of all manufacturing jobs since the year 2000, really when Bill Clinton signed NAFTA, shortly thereafter, have disappeared from our country. And, it's a real issue. And, so we need to bring the jobs back. We need to stop getting ripped off by foreign countries. If you look at June, if you look at last month, we had a $63.1 billion trade imbalance with the rest of the world. And it's not sustainable. I mean, we're going to go bankrupt if we keep on doing that as a nation. We have $19 trillion worth of debt, and it's just not sustainable. And then obviously, education. I would put that certainly as my third, but, education, and building up our military and having the strongest military in the world, and a whole host of other things. But, these things weren't even spoken about in her speech, which is just gravely, gravely concerning to me.
And, you were very impressive. Your brother and your sisters were very impressive. Family values?
Yeah, well, listen, family values is everything. Family structure is everything. And, it's so important to our nation. I mean, I mentioned education before, but, we're a country that's, we're 30th in the world in terms of education. Family structure is a large part of that. And, it's interesting, and I've watched this very closely because it's something that matters a lot to me over the last couple months. But, you see some of these, young kids who go in and, they protest at the conventions. You saw it at the DNC, a couple days ago, where you had these, young kids out on the street and they're burning American flags. And it's really it's truly horrible watching that as an American. And if I ever did something like that as a child, my parents would have killed me. And that's because they were great parents, and they had very high expectations for us, and they made us study very hard, and they never allowed us to get out of line. And they always made us achieve and believe and work very, very hard, and all the things that a good parent should do. And you start seeing some of these riots that happen. You start seeing, people, executing police officers. It's so much of that is a breakdown of family structure, of morals in society. It's really terrible stuff, and I do think that's a message that has to get pushed, and I do think this country needs a resurgence of that in a very large way.
They're criticizing your dad on foreign policy experience. Has your dad narrowed down anybody that he'll be getting foreign policy experience from?
Well, isn't that amazing, John? Because if you look at the foreign policy over the last 8 years, it has been one mistake after the other. I mean, I really think I think Hillary will go down as one of the worst secretaries of state in the history.
Well, I've criticized it a great deal. I mean, we got rid of Mubarak, who's an ally. We got rid of a guy from Libya, and he was not a great guy, but he was our ally. And you know what I've said, Eric, to people? How many prime ministers trust us and are standing on line to be our ally? And the number is practically zero.
100%. While at the same time, John, we've turned our back to Israel in the worst possible way. Israel, one of our greatest allies in the world, who's the voice of reason and stability in a region, and we have done nothing to support the people of Israel, which is so sad because they are such a great ally of ours. But look at Hillary's track record for as a Secretary of State. Look at Libya, look at Syria, look at Iraq. I mean, look at the entire Middle East. We've spent trillions of dollars, trillions and trillions of dollars, and I spoke about this quite a bit in my speech at the convention, but we spent trillions and trillions of dollars in the Middle East. It cost our nation thousands and thousands of lives, much worse than anything. It literally, ran down our military in terms of, just the abuse it put on our equipment and this and that. Cost us trillions of dollars, thousands of lives, really hurt our military. And what do we get out of it? We have ISIS that's attacking every city in every country around the world. We are target number one for them every single day. Radical Islam is totally out of control. They are cutting off priest heads in church. I mean, it's unbelievable. And this is the result of her foreign policy and trillions of dollars of our taxpayer money. And then they mention that he doesn't know anything about foreign policy. I mean, it's really shocking. I mean, the one thing I'll tell you about my father is he will hit ISIS harder than they've ever been hit before. He will get rid of those guys so quickly. It's what my father does. He will be absolutely relentless and ruthless with that enemy, and he will do a phenomenal job. And we can't stand to have another 4 years of Hillary Clinton's foreign policy. I mean, our country is on the verge of really bad things happening. I mean, you're seeing rioting in the streets. You're seeing police officers being executed. You're seeing a Middle East that's never been in worse shape. So much of this is due to her policies and her failed policies.
There was rumors going around that your dad was considering naming a quasi-cabinet of advisors ahead of time. Has there been any talk like that at all?
Yeah, and listen, very well could happen. And, I can tell you, and obviously I sit, 2 feet away from him in our offices every day, and the amount of people who are not only calling, but he's speaking with is incredible. And these are the best and the brightest. And it's interesting. When I was watching the DNC the other day, it's every single one of the speakers, minus a couple, they were all from within the halls of Washington, D.C., career politicians. And I just kind of started laughing. I think the one thing my father will do is it's going to be a different regime. It's going to be different people. He's going to go out. He's going to find the most immensely competent and capable people. And these aren't going to be the Washington insiders who have been there for 100 years and are the very reason why the system in Washington is so broken. These are going to be the most capable, competent people, the people who can get a job done, the people who can cut through the red tape, cut through the nonsense, understand a bad deal. I mean, you look at the Iran nuclear deal, right? $150 billion that we released to Iran. I mean, think about that. $150 billion that we gave to a country that, detests us and detests our way of life. Look at the trade imbalances that I spoke about before, where you have, almost a $500 billion trade imbalance with China, a $60 billion trade imbalance with Mexico. In June alone, I mentioned this number before, but we had a $63 billion trade imbalance in June, alone. I mean, these are numbers that are so staggering. My father will get the best people in the world, the best people from the private industry where applicable. And believe me, these games stop. I mean, we spent $1 million building a soccer field at Guantanamo Bay. I mean, the U.S. government spent $1 million building a soccer field for terrorists at Guantanamo Bay. Like, when does this nonsense and waste and
you almost have to
stop?
laugh about that one.
It's crazy. I mean, but every day there's another story about the $800 hammer that the government, that the government buys, and you could go to Home Depot and buy that same hammer for $20. And I mean, it's enough of this stuff, and it's why we have $19 trillion worth of debt. and it's why every time we walk through LaGuardia Airport, and I'm in there, 3 times a week.
Eric, we got 1 minute left. What do you want to tell the American people why they should vote for your dad?
Well, listen, he's John. You've known my father forever, and he's an amazing guy. He's the greatest guy in the world. I love him to death. But he's an immensely capable guy, and he'll do a phenomenal job for this nation. And he's doing this not because he needs a job. He has an immensely successful company and family. He's doing this because America has given my father everything that he has: his wealth, his success, his family, his company. It's given him everything, and this country is being flushed down the drain by a bunch of crooked politicians, and we can't stand to see more of these scandals, email scandals, the Clinton Foundation scandals, the nonsense. It's got to end. The corruption within Washington is unlike anything I've ever seen before, and we literally need to go in and blow up the system because it's that bad.
Eric Trump, thank you for being with us this Sunday morning, and have a great day. And we hope you join us again in the near future and keep updating us.
We will, John. Thank you so much.
This is the Cats Roundtable. We'll be right back after these few messages.